I've been seeing a lot of changes. I came in right at the time the dot-com boom was happening, and of course the crash. I obviously was there when the mobile revolution took off, and then now we are at the cusp of another revolution, which is AI and GenAI. One of the reasons I joined Hexaware and where Hexaware really differentiated itself is its focus on understanding emerging technologies and being able to get ahead of the wave to be able to help our customers.
When you would have first come, it would have been pages and maybe an emerging BlackBerry technology, and you'd have seen going through the first iPhone to the first Android device to where we are now, and as you said, that new transition into AI.
So clients are experimenting with how to leverage GenAI. They have had a lot of experience with AI in the past, but with GenAI, AI has moved from being a boardroom kind of discussion to a kitchen table discussion.
Hello and welcome to BetterTech. I'm Colin McCarthy, your host, and today we're going to dive into some more transformative trends, connect with thought leaders to uncover insights and propel business success and innovation. I'm very happy today to have Rak. It's fantastic to have you here. Given your rich background in technology and leadership, can you please tell us a bit about yourself, share what inspired you to drive Hexaware's transformation into an AI-first company?
I'm delighted to be here, Colin. Thanks for hosting this and thanks for having me for this podcast. Looking forward to the next several minutes that we'll have together. I'm actually based out of the West Coast, doing this recording from the East Coast though. Being part of Hexaware, a lot of your listeners probably know about the company, but I'll give you a little brief about what Hexaware is all about and my own role in that company. So just beginning from my role and where I come from, I've been in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley for over 25 years. In fact, this week will be my 25th anniversary of landing in the Bay Area.
Wow.
I've been seeing a lot of changes. I came in right at the time the dot-com boom was happening, and of course the crash. I obviously was there when the mobile revolution took off, and then now we are at the cusp of another revolution, which is AI and GenAI. And Silicon Valley has played a big role in every one of these revolutions, technology revolutions, and I've been associated with it in many different ways, very closely. I joined Hexaware around 6.5 years ago. One of the reasons I joined Hexaware and where Hexaware really differentiated itself is its focus on understanding emerging technologies and being able to get ahead of the wave to be able to help our customers. So like seven years ago, we realized that automation will be a big thing, and we started investing in it, and we put in the right kind of capabilities and so on. And then the tsunami hit, and we were like out there ahead of the game. Same with cloud. We created our COEs, built a competency, and that's when we were able to push a lot of the cloud modernization, cloud migration through our Amaze platform out there. We are doing something similar with AI and GenAI. And I am leading a lot of our efforts from a GenAI perspective, which we'll talk more about. And that's what excites me. What excites me right now is this ability to take the background, take the experience, the Silicon Valley flavor of it, and help drive both Hexaware as well as the client transformation which goes with it to the next level, having seen different kind of contexts and organization models.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And crazy to hear that you're celebrating your silver jubilee of being in Silicon Valley for such a long period of time. When you would have first come, it would have been pages and maybe an emerging BlackBerry technology, and you'd have seen going through the first iPhone to on the first Android device to where we are now, and as you said, that new transition into AI. So being so deeply rooted in Silicon Valley's innovation ecosystem, how has that influenced Hexaware's approach to adopting and integrating AI and GenAI technologies in the services that it offers its customers?
Yeah, no, I think it's a very, very interesting question, because Hexaware, in general, it's a $1.4 billion company this year. We are owned by Carlyle as a private equity. A lot of our customer base, at least when I had joined, was very East Coast focused and Midwest. I was able to start their West Coast business. We are a very good clip right now. We have a lot of high-tech clients now, platform companies, some of the major SaaS companies, social media platform, which are our clients right now. So, one is our client exposure to the Silicon Valley
Mm.
ecosystem has become much broader in the last 3 to 4 years. Two, I think by getting funding from Carlyle, right, as a private
Mhm.
equity and being associated with some of their portfolio companies, which also have a significant impact, right? So they have portfolio companies across different domains, right from security to retail to manufacturing to pharma companies. And we've been able to work with some of them, keep a sort of a ground level feel of what's happening in emerging tech, right? And I have a lot of my alumni network, my network from my IIT days, my network which is from my previous companies that I used to work with, whether it's Capgemini, Infosys, and I worked for a startup as well. And I've seen how this ecosystem works, right? I mean, the whole idea of fail fast, start small, keep
Mm.
iterating, right? Do the POCs. It can never be perfect, but keep learning from others and keep improving till you get to till you get to a production ready kind of version. So I think those are some of the things that we are leveraging in our own automation journey and our own innovation journey with some of these emerging tech. And GenAI is obviously a clear place where this is playing out, right?
Right. Yeah. And you took it is vital to be able to react fast and adapt on the move. As you say, fail fast.
Yep.
And adapt and overcome. What strategic vision guides you in actually going through these changes and creating exponential value for your customers through AI?
Yeah. So, Colin, Hexaware has, as I was telling you, revenue wise, it's a pretty large company now. We work across different industry segments, right? So, we have 6 vertical business units. I lead one of them. That's one of my roles. I lead the high tech and professional services business unit. There are similar business units for banking and financial services and
Mhm.
travel, transportation, and manufacturing and so on. And we also have service lines. I mentioned to you about cloud and data and so on. These are all our service lines. What we do is, as part of the GenAI team, we are trying to bring all of this together, all the service lines together to create that value for our customers. We have a broad vision there. Our vision is threefold. We are going to look at disrupting ourselves first. And what that means
Mm.
is we are going to eat our own dog food. So we are going to leverage GenAI and AI in our own operations, whether it is in terms of HR and employee engagement, whether it is in terms of hiring, whether it is in terms of sales and marketing, RFP responses, bid management, and reuse of that material, in terms of some of the aspect of data and analytics to improve our efficiencies, and every service that we deliver for our clients, right? So
Mhm.
every project will infuse GenAI. So that's one, disrupting ourselves. The second part of our GenAI strategy and vision is disrupting clients, right? So work with clients on their use cases. How do we find out which are the priority use cases where we can generate value? Everybody is looking at production, productivity, and efficiency. How can we expand that? How can we make it more growth oriented, help with revenues, help with new business models, right? And solve their business problems based on that. And the third aspect of this vision is we are going to take some big bets. And we are already looking at some partnerships which will help with that. So these are partnerships both with hyperscalers or with certain boutique platform companies.
Mhm.
And we are looking at certain domain areas like legal, like life sciences and medical coding. We are going to be putting in a lot of investment in creating those big bets and taking to market. So I would say that's our vision. Three pillars: disrupting ourselves, disrupting clients, and helping take some big bets so that we can disrupt some industries and help
Right.
unlock value based on that. So it's primarily about customer focus, doing what is right, and helping clients achieve that business value.
Right. It was great to hear at the start that one of the first things you mentioned was that you dog food your own stuff,
Yeah.
and you live this way. I've seen it, and it's always, been a big question when it comes across of companies who don't practice what they preach. There's a lot of, I've seen a few companies that will, try and sell something or change something, but they're not actually doing it themselves inside their own organization. And you have to ask some questions about that.
And it actually helps with really understanding the limitations of that technology, what needs to be fixed, what kind of skill sets you would need, so that you can
Mhm.
actually do the right match between the skill sets and the projects and so on. And
Yeah,
also allows you not to get fixated on one approach, and that's the whole startup mentality as well, right? Be a little more democratic, and AI enables you to do that and help train as many people as you can, and that training really helps in uh, democratizing and taking it to the client.
yeah. And it sounds like you do have such because of all the different services and industries that you're covering. There's a wide client base with different needs and different priorities, understandings, focus on things. Could you discuss a particularly challenging or innovative project at Hexaware where AI played a crucial role, and how you navigated those challenges?
Yeah, so we've been involved in several very interesting projects, POCs, and more advanced versions of those with our clients. Our pipeline has grown quite a bit. We engaged in several actual engagements, projects. Clients are experimenting with how to leverage Gen AI. They have had a lot of experience with AI in the past, but with Gen AI has moved from being a boardroom kind of discussion to a kitchen table discussion, right? So that's how Gen AI is being perceived. But a lot of people still have questions, and how do you do this? How do you do that? Some of our clients have actually taken big strides, and I'll explain to you a couple of them. One of the clients is in the insurance space, right? So they basically run these different kind of multi-line insurance policies for their clients, for their customers. So the customers will come to them and they say, listen, and this is a Europe-based client. So they have customers who are going from one country to the other. They are looking at whether they have coverage, whether they have automobile coverage, whether they have like weather-related, any coverage related to floods, house, etc., and so on. They will have certain aspects of their claims. And so the agent is supposed to respond to them real time with solutions, with solving their queries, and even be able to cross sell and upsell if needed. We have actually worked with this client to create a Gen AI based customer agent augmentation, where we are able to pull up the past information of transactions for that customer. We are able to pull up policy related information. We are able to figure out where the customer is calling and what might be the likely reason for the call, and help assist and augment the agent who's interacting with the customer on a real-time basis through text prompts and actual likely scripts and so on, so that particular answers can be provided through a Gen AI based application. So this involves a Microsoft stack on the back end.
Right.
This has a customer care center, call center kind of application which runs on it. For another large client, which is the hospitality industry, they had multiple hotel properties and franchises across the United States. And each of these properties, they would have job descriptions. So let's say for a front desk agent or a housekeeping, or somebody who's managing the bar and so on, and each franchise or each location will come out with their own job descriptions, and it proliferated. They had some 40,000 job descriptions for a very limited set of roles, and everything was written differently and so on. We have used Gen AI to help optimize, streamline these job descriptions, these HR job categories into just 150 unique ones, so that they don't have to get confused. And from the 40,000, we have made it like 150 job categories, right? So that's been one big challenging project that we have done. Very innovative one, which is recently we have done, and which is going to become more of the norm. So there is a company which is into facilities management, which essentially helps with maintaining, Starbucks, right? So Starbucks has
Yeah.
all these different kind of coffee machines, and there are other such players, right, who use different coffee machines and models. So this company is on call whenever a coffee machine or a similar kind of equipment has a failure, and they send their technician. You can imagine there are different models, different sizes, different versions. How does a technician keep up with, this is the model, this is the prop issue, this is what the steps to resolve it are? There are all these manuals that particular, the technician has to access. these models can be in different formats, and they have, language, they have text, they have charts, they have data. We have created a GenAI application to help ingest the right kind of, you know, information from these manuals, depending on the model numbers, and give very prescriptive, very precise steps which have to be undertaken. Open this valve or shut this off, and check for this, and so on and so forth, which can ease the process for troubleshooting by the technician.
Right. That sounds like a great feature to ensure that all of our Starbucks coffee machines in our local stores are still working. And I love that example of the insurance company, because that really does highlight some of the benefits and the power of these large language models, and how they can, summarize and correctly analyze, parts of, pieces of information.
Yeah,
I'm sure we've all gone through the process of, calling any one of a number of companies, and the first couple of minutes on the call is silence, because that poor agent is having to quickly speed read through your account, analyze, what your policy is, check on a few things. But if the platform is built and AI is summarizing all of that, it makes it more efficient for all of us, and we as end users, consumers, should get a more accurate response, because it's removing some of that interpretation potentially from, the agent, based on their training and understanding, to one would hope, and you can confirm, a sort of fixed set of standards that are
yeah,
in the AI, and what it's learned from the large language modeling.
yeah. And this is something we are doing internally as well. So, like for our own service desk, we are using GenAI. So we have a platform called Tensai GPT, which people can ask questions. They, based on some of the previous problem and resolutions, it can help you provide those answers. So we are just extending, obviously, here. There's the complexity is a little more from a client
Mhm.
perspective. There is also the aspect of data readiness, right? So a lot of the GenAI implementations right now are facing challenges because of readiness of data in the right format, and whether the data can be used to monetize. And that is where I think the challenges are right now in the industry. So adoption will go up as more enterprise data becomes available, becomes ready, and then the models are able to take advantage of it. And then the answers are accurate. I think that's the other part of the challenges: accuracy and security, right? And there are new technologies coming in, whether it's the RAG based model, whether it's the human feedback, reinforcement learning through human feedback, and so on. But that is a lot of things which the model providers are also working on.
Yeah, yeah, I know the term, hallucinations
Yeah,
has caused some hilarious results. I've even seen some, hallucinations asking an AI platform, how to do something in an application, and it will say, click on settings, go to this, go to that.
yeah,
It's telling me what I wanted to do, not what it can do.
yeah.
And then you go, well, that program doesn't have that option. So why have you created a guide, just based on what I'm asking? And you can't change the program.
Right,
So yeah.
right.
So the transition towards becoming an AI first company entails enormous challenges, from talent acquisition to technological integration. So how has Hexaware addressed these challenges, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
Yes, and this is something where I was mentioning to you about how we have usually tried to be ahead of the wave, right? Um, in this case, clearly, in being in the market, there is a war for talent, especially for AI, right? And it's a relatively new field when you look at Gen AI. So the number of people who, while AI has been around for years and decades, I think the way in which now AI is getting the mainstream attention, the way Gen AI is now, bringing the AI conversation to every kitchen table, so to speak, there are a lot of people who are becoming, who need that skill. And it's going to become an important skill for the future. We have actually focused on the role of homegrown talent as part of this, right?
Mm.
So it is not just about hiring from outside. Almost everybody is starting with almost the same starting point here. We have a huge mobilization exercise. We call it enablement, and we've been doing it for the past 6 to 8 months. So out of our 30,000 people, 18,000 are technology people, and 12,000 are what we call as business process or operations people.
Yeah.
Out of the 18,000 technology people, we have 85 to 90% of them have got GenAI certified through specific courses that we
Mhm.
have provided to them. And this is through a partnership with a platform called Udemy that we have worked on providing these courses. And
Yeah.
several of them, I would say a substantial number of this 18,000 has also now got trained into advanced certification, which makes them eligible to be leveraged for GenAI projects. Just in terms of acquiring the talent, we obviously continue to do that from the market, but there has been a huge focus in converting and shaping our own current talent pool into a GenAI ready talent. And that's where we are asking every one of our units and every delivery project to leverage GenAI in how they're delivering the services, because that will essentially force them and force the people to learn and implement
Mhm.
what they have learned. We are also doing cross training. So we are getting training for our delivery leaders. We are getting training for our account managers and salespeople so that they
Mhm.
can actually talk this language and take this message rather than, feeling ill-equipped when these kind of conversations happen.
Right. Yes. It's great to hear that you've got that internal program to grow the talent internally. And it sounds like you're investing and focusing so much time on giving people the resources they need to get that understanding and train up those account executives and account managers, so
Yeah.
they can fully support their client base.
Yeah, and you're right, Colin. And I think you also spoke about the whole aspect of integration, right? So there are two kinds of integration. One would be technology, and then the other is organizational adoption, right? Which is like, is everybody well integrated into what we try to do? Uh, I think the technology integration is obviously, we talked about the data readiness and we talked about some of the security and, you know, uh, those kind of challenges which are being taken care of. I think the organizational adoption, and resistance to change is another bigger issue, right? Which something both for our clients and for us internally. So what we have done as I lead this GenAI program, we realize that this is a very democratic kind of a technology. This is not something which you can bottle up in one unit and say, listen, this is where all the GenAI stuff will happen. Because the
Mhm.
innovation actually here can be accessed by everybody, whether it's an engineer, whether it's a tester, whether it's an operations person. Everybody has access to these GenAI platforms, and they can experiment and they can do their own, sandbox environments and so on. We have created a community, what we're calling as a community of interest for GenAI within Hexaware. And we have all the people, the right SMEs from each of these units who are big part of this. We share information, we share the solutions that are being developed. We have a model by which we can track the maturity of them, which ones can be reused by other units, which ones
Mhm.
can be given domain flavor. So we are creating this so that we can identify big bets and take some of these solutions to market.
Interesting. That's yeah. It's so interesting to hear the thought that goes into this and all the other programs that you have in place. There was one program that I wanted to ask about now, the Hexaware Future Leaders and Executives Program,
Yeah.
HFLX, or
Yeah.
yeah, which and that obviously highlights the commitment to nurturing future talent. How does that align to your broader strategy and AI and for technological innovation?
Right. So the program that you speak about, pretty close to my heart. It's one of the hats I wear in Hexaware. So I lead the business unit that I mentioned. I'm also responsible for Gen AI. And one of the things I do is I'm the chief mentor for this Hexaware Future Leaders and Executives program. This actually is a program which we use, which is the program to hire fresh MBA graduates from B schools.
Yeah.
And these are MBA graduates typically with some technology background. So we hire around 100 of them per year. Uh, Goes up and down each year depending on how much business units need and how they're going to be used. But typically it's between the 70, 80 kind of numbers every year across the globe. And then we put them through rotation, we put them through an orientation program. They go through different business units. Over the first 3 years, we sort of manage their career. The way this aligns with our broader focus on AI and technology
Mm-hmm.
innovation is, listen, all these people are Gen Zers and young people. We've all heard about digital natives, right? So kids who grew up in the early 2000s are familiar with internet and familiar with mobile and so on. The class of the cohort which is coming of age now and will come of age in the near future is going to be very familiar with AI and Gen AI in a similar manner, right? So I'm even coining a term called AI native. Just like you said, digital native, these are
Yeah.
AI natives, right? And they are actually learning these new technologies much faster, and they are able to use it, and they're very comfortable with business applications of them and talking to customers and so on and so forth. So we want to actually use that pool. We calling it future leaders and executives. There is also a set
Mm-hmm.
of mavericks on the technology side. We call them mavericks, which are fresh engineering graduates. Their familiarity, their comfort level with AI and Gen AI and being as AI native is helping us drive some of these large projects and changes. In fact, we use them for some of the cutting edge engagements that we have.
Okay, interesting. And it's great that you're planning ahead and got this program that you're spearheading and mentoring to train and educate and build your future leaders within your organization. If there were any high school kids listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, and they're like, "Oh, I want to become an AI executive," what would you advise them to focus on? What are the skills that are needed, and they might be tangible, non-tangible skills, not like a
Yeah.
degree in history or a computer science major. What are the other skills that are missing and you're finding that are crucial in your applicants?
No, I think that's a great question, because that's really the talent for the future. And I would love to have some of these folks who are in undergraduates and so on to apply for internships to Hexaware if they can. We do have some exciting projects, especially if they're coming from the data and AI side. I think the skill set they should be looking at and focusing on building is, I wouldn't say computer coding itself. That particular skill set is probably going to, get supplanted by Gen AI soon.
Yeah.
But having familiarity with data and having familiarity with different kind of AI models. There is a very interesting book I had when I was discussing with one of my sons about his career choices. It's called The Fuzzies versus the Techies, and it's a sort of a non-exclusive terms, but techies are the people who are focusing on STEM and a lot of engineering
Mm-hmm.
and computer science and so on, whereas the fuzzies are more focused on all more of the humanities and more of the liberal arts and maybe more of the history and policy and those kind of conversations. And what this author was saying, and which I feel is a skill set which is more needed, is focus on the business part of it, understand patterns, understand, get familiar with languages, and get familiar with the aspect of a little bit of more ambiguity and abstractedness, so that helps you when you get into this new world, which is going to be
Mm-hmm.
dominated by AI agents in the future, right?
Right, yeah, that's a good advice to give to people. Yeah, it is. There's a understanding the data, because I do find you have to have an appreciation of what you're analyzing, because these AI based prompts will give you a response, but that response is only as good as the prompt that you put in. And if
Yeah.
you don't understand what you're asking, then you can't create or use the program to the best of its abilities. So yeah, it's
I
a
think
sort
the
of
skills, it's true. I mean, the skills of logic, pattern recognition, judgment will never go away, right? And those are the skills that you want the youngsters to build. Is be curious, always, have that aspect of questioning what you're learning, and figuring out patterns and using logic for coming to conclusions.
Yeah, yeah, there needs to be a certificate in critical thought,
Yes,
and
totally agree.
understanding.
totally agree.
We'll
And
have
and
to
I, yeah,
have to look it up on Coursera or Udemy and see if it's there as something that kids can
yeah,
do nowadays. It's been great chatting with you for the last 20, 25 or so minutes. The whole market and arena of AI is just so interesting, and it's expanding so much and changed so much even in the last 15, 18 months. But lastly, let's look at that crystal ball and what emerging trends in AI are most exciting to you, and how do you envisage that changing Hexaware's offerings and also the industry at large?
so I think the trend lines in AI, Gen AI, very fascinating. They're moving towards two, three different endpoints. Everybody talking about artificial general intelligence and how that is going to supplant human intelligence and so on. I guess that's probably a speculation for the future, but getting there means there will be certain intermediate steps. That will mean what is called as multimodal AI, which
Hmm.
is not just about language or text and images. It will also be into other sensors. I mean, voice is becoming important, video is becoming important, but as you go forward, multimodal AI is going to replace a lot of the single mode AI. Your form of interaction with AI is also going to change. So form factor currently is mostly using your browser or handset and mobile and so on. I think obviously people are experimenting with virtual glasses and some of the metaverse related aspects, but a lot of the form factor of how you interact with AI is going to change. The power of AI is going to continue to really grow exponentially, right? Whether it's the computing power, whether it's the ability of the models to work with multiple huge number of parameters and then have more accurate answers and so on. Embodied AI is becoming very important, or so, which is essentially using AI in a human anthropomorphic form in robots and so on, right? And you know, currently robots are very specialized. They do specific kind of work, but for them to be able to use more human-like tendencies and have that AI built in terms of their motion, in terms of their reactions and so on, that is what is sort of another area of what is called as embodied AI. So I think those are all areas which are very exciting. Obviously, there is a lot of risk associated with some of these developments, and who will be in control? What are the guardrails? What will it mean for safety? What will it mean for ethics and liability? So, all those areas are something that we are also looking in. We've created a responsible AI kind of a framework, and we are
Hmm.
monitoring all these new developments to see how that might come to play in a practical way.
Right, yeah. At the end, when you're talking about AI and robots, I've seen some videos on YouTube recently where that has been demonstrated, and obviously everybody's instantly references iRobot, the early 2000 film with Will Smith and the
Yeah,
robots there. But as you say, we do have to have the safeguards and everything else. You just have to hope there's not an evil corporation behind it with
yeah,
a backdoor into removing those
yeah.
safeguards. But until that time, it we'll carry on tracking Hexaware, and check in with you and see what you're doing and where the whole industry is going in general.
Absolutely. No, no, very
Um,
excited. I think I'm so glad that we are in this phase. I'm an optimist, and I believe this technology will benefit humanity on the whole, as long as we have our checks and balances in place.
yep, exactly. Well, Rak, thanks again for your time and
Thank
joining us
you.
to here on BetterTech. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you for giving me an opportunity.